You've probably broken something before, or at least come close. That sharp crack, the immediate wave of nausea, the panic, and then, almost immediately, the thought, I need to go to a hospital. But here's the thing. For most of human existence, there were no hospitals, no x-rays, no plaster casts, no surgeons, no painkillers beyond what the earth could offer. And yet, your ancestors broke bones constantly, falling from trees, crushed under prey, ambushed in the dark, hit by rocks that didn't care. So what actually happened? What did it look and feel and sound like to shatter your femur 200,000 years ago, in a world with no word for doctor and no concept of sterile technique? The answer will change the way you think about your own body and about what it means to survive. Start with the bone itself. Your skeleton is not dead material. It is alive. It has blood vessels running through it. It has nerve endings. When a bone breaks, those vessels rupture, flooding the surrounding tissue with blood. A broken femur, the large bone in your thigh, can cause you to lose up to 2 liters of blood internally before anything even reaches the surface. 2 liters. That is nearly half the blood in your body. Ancient humans who broke the femur in the wrong place, at the wrong angle, without immediate intervention, often died. Not from the break itself, but from the internal bleeding that followed within hours. Your brain knows this. That is why fractures hurt the way they do. Researcher Ronald Melzack, whose gate control theory of pain transformed how neuroscience understands suffering, showed that the intensity of pain is not just about tissue damage, it is about threat signaling. Your brain reads a bone fracture as existential danger. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. It sharpens your senses. It makes you scream. Because in the ancient world, screaming was useful. It summoned the group, and the group mattered. This is where the story gets remarkable. Paleoanthropologists have long searched the fossil record for evidence of ancient care, and they found it. One of the most stunning examples comes from a Neanderthal skeleton unearthed in Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, studied extensively by Ralph Solecki in the 1950s and 60s. The individual, now called Shanidar 1, was an adult male who had survived a crushing blow to the left side of his skull, which left him partially blind. His right arm had been so severely injured that it was amputated or withered above the elbow. He had arthritis throughout his body. He was, by every measure, profoundly disabled, and yet he survived to old age, at least 40, perhaps 50 years old, in a time when most humans died in their 20s. He did not survive alone. Someone fed him. Someone kept him warm. Someone protected him when he could not protect himself. This is not a small thing. This is everything. Because it means that even before modern humans as we know them existed, there was something that looked disturbingly like compassion embedded in how these groups functioned. The bone did not just heal, the community healed it. But let's go back to the moment of the break. Before the care, before the group rushes in, you are a hunter. You are running across uneven ground in dim light. Your foot lands wrong on a root and your ankle snaps. You know instantly something is catastrophically wrong. The pain is blinding. You cannot put weight on the foot. You are, in evolutionary terms, now prey. In the minutes after a break, the bone itself begins an emergency response. Platelets cluster. A clot forms around the fracture. The periosteum, the membrane wrapped around the bone, begins sending out signals, chemical distress calls, recruiting the cells that will eventually rebuild what has shattered. Your body already knows what to do. It has known since long before your species had language. Over the following days, something extraordinary happens inside you. Chondroblasts begin laying down cartilage across the gap. This soft callus acts as a scaffold, a temporary bridge between the broken ends. Then osteoblasts arrive, bone-building cells, and begin replacing that cartilage with hard mineralized tissue. Over weeks, the gap closes. The bone, if the ends are properly aligned, knits itself back together, not as scar tissue, as bone. New, solid, living bone. This process is so effective that healed fractures in the fossil record are often denser at the break site than the surrounding bone. Your body does not just repair, it over-repairs. It builds back stronger. The key word in all of that, however, is alignment. For the bone to heal correctly, the broken ends need to be close together and held still. If they are not, if you keep moving on a broken leg, or if the break is displaced and nothing pushes the ends back into contact, the bone will still try to heal, but it will heal wrong, crooked, misaligned, sometimes forming a false joint, a PSE, a pseudarthrosis, where the body gives up trying to bridge the gap and instead builds a fibrous cushion between the two ends. The result is a limb that works barely, but is permanently shortened, rotated, weakened. Archaeologists have found many ancient skeletons with healed fractures that are clearly malunited, healed in the wrong position, a forearm that rotated 10 degrees off axis, a clavicle that healed with a thick bony knob at the breakpoint. These people lived, but they lived differently afterward, and some ancient humans and their predecessors did something about it. There is evidence, though debated, that some early human groups attempted crude forms of splinting. Not metal, not plaster. Bark, sticks, strips of hide lashed tight around a broken limb to hold it still while the bone knit. The same principle your emergency room uses today. Immobilize the fracture. Keep the ends close. Let the biology do the rest. Researcher June Letts and others studying traditional medicine practices in hunter-gatherer societies documented the widespread use of plant-based splinting materials across cultures with no contact with modern medicine. The knowledge was not taught. It was discovered again and again across every continent. Because the logic is so simple, a child could observe it. If you hold the broken thing still, it heals better. They also used plants for pain. Willow bark contains salicin, a compound your body converts to salicylic acid, the same molecule that is the active component of aspirin. Ancient humans almost certainly chewed willow bark during times of pain, not because they understood the chemistry, because they noticed it worked. The wound was the teacher, the forest was the pharmacy, but not all breaks could be managed this way. Compound fractures, where the bone punches through the skin, were catastrophic in the ancient world. Today, a compound fracture is a surgical emergency because of infection risk. In the ancient world, with no concept of bacteria and no antiseptic beyond perhaps honey or certain plant resins, a compound fracture exposed the bone to the open environment. The infection that followed could spread through the bloodstream within days. Sepsis, then death. Yet here again, the fossil record surprises us. There are ancient skeletons with compound fractures that show evidence of healing. Full healing, which means someone survived a bone punching through their skin in a world without antibiotics long enough for the fracture to close. Either their immune systems were extraordinarily effective, which is plausible since immune challenges throughout a lifetime build formidable defenses, or someone cleaned the wound, covered it, kept flies away, kept the person warm and hydrated and fed. Or both. Survival was never individual in the ancient world. It was always collective. There is a skeleton from a site in Vietnam, studied by researchers at the Australian National University, belonging to a man who lived approximately 10,000 years ago. He had paralysis of the lower limbs. His leg bones show the kind of bone loss you only see in long-term immobility, like spending years unable to move your legs. He was, in every clinical sense, profoundly disabled, and he survived for years in this condition. Someone carried him. Someone fed him every meal. Someone chose every single day to include him in the group rather than leave him behind. His survival was a group decision, made repeatedly over years. Broken bones in the ancient world were not just medical events. They were social events. They revealed what a group valued, whether the injured were carried or abandoned, whether the old were fed or left, whether the disabled were included or expelled. Now consider your own life. You wake up. You move through a world filled with padded shoes and handrails and helmets and seatbelts and orthopedic surgeons and titanium rods that can be screwed directly into your shattered tibia and a prescription for oxycodone and a follow-up appointment in 6 weeks. You live in a world so medically sophisticated that a broken ankle is, at most, an inconvenience. 6 weeks in a boot. Maybe a little physical therapy. You will never know what it felt like to lie in the dark with a shattered leg and no word for what was happening inside your body. No understanding of why the pain felt like something alive was eating through you. No knowledge that your bone was already trying to fix itself. But here is what the ancient record tells you. Your body has been ready for this since long before you were born. The clotting, the callus formation, the osteoblasts, the immune response, all of it was already there, refined across millions of years of falling and breaking and healing and breaking again. You are not a fragile thing that modern medicine keeps alive. You are an extraordinarily resilient thing that modern medicine has made faster, safer, and less agonizing. The biology was always yours. Tonight, if you run your fingers along your own bones, you might find old healed fractures you never knew about. Small stress fractures in your feet from years of walking. A rib that cracked once and knit itself back while you slept. Your skeleton carries a record of every impact your life has delivered, healed over, folded back in, made stronger. You have been breaking and rebuilding since the day you were born. So did every ancestor who came before you. And unlike most of them, you did it with someone there to help. That has always been the real medicine. It just took us a very long time to name it.